Hi, as you can see, we are finally outside. It was really nice weather today, so we took our little car for a ride. Our car is in a little bit better condition since our last video. You can't see that yet, but we are going to show you what we did. We were not able to film everything because we were doing a job in a borrowed garage. Today the video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be some kind of a update. We're going to show you what we did on our car and why. So let's see what we did.
I found a stick. So in the meantime, we did some small and some big things on our car. We installed a lot of stuff that was arriving in the mail during the past few months. We changed the complete suspension. We wanted a small lift, but the main reason was we wanted the suspension that is not collapsed and that is softer than the original. We wanted to change the fuel tank protection because the old one was so rusty, it was not protecting anything. In the meantime, we had a last minute small engine operation where we found a loose screw in the engine which was chewed up, spit out, and during that we changed the head cover gasket so the oil is not leaking anymore. The battery died, because of course it did. We took the tow hook off because we were waiting for other parts, and some other bits and pieces here and there.
Let's see what's new.
So we were aiming for a softer suspension with about 70 millimeters of lift. So we ordered new leaf springs for all four corners. We ordered some new shackles, not that much because of the lift, but because they're quite thicker and they're welded from side to side, so they're much more stiffer for lateral movement. We ordered new U-bolts because we were not sure if the old ones were so rusty that we will have to cut them or we could salvage them. And then we borrowed a garage that was about 4 or 5 times wider than ours, so we can work on the car. It took us about 3 days to replace the whole suspension, leaf springs, shackles, shocks, with all new hardware, and that's mostly because we were missing some washers, some bolts and stuff like that, so we need to order them from the city, and they arrived in a day or two by someone. The suspension upgrade, change, whatever, is not that difficult. You just jack up your car, put something under the chassis to hold it up, and you can work on the springs. Most of our pain and suffering came from these bolts right here, because they're going through the chassis and they have a metal tube inside of the bushing. Is it a bushing?
I don't know, never heard of that word.
Polyurethane bushing, the bushing part. So if you're lucky and you take the nut from the other side, the bolt is rusted to the metal tube and you cannot get it out.
Oh.
So of the 4 bolts, only one came out as it should have. All other, I needed to take a grinder and cut it with a big grinding wheel and get from down through the bushing, through the bolt and through the tube, and cut everything out so I can remove the old spring. And after first one I just gave up and cut all the bolts off because that was quite hard. Also, the U-bolts on the axles were quite rusted, but they survived the taking off part.
We can see them from here.
And you saw it from the
Yep.
front. While we were here, we replaced all the bump stops front and back and put some adjustable gas shocks so we can put them on their softest setting. And we did not reinstall the sway bar or the anti-roll bar because it's unnecessary on this car, and we wanted a little bit more articulation from our suspension, and that also made it a little bit softer. In the end we got about 60 millimeters of lift, and suspension is a little bit softer, but not as soft as we wanted to. It is still quite hard to drive this car on the road because the roads are in quite a poor condition, and you can feel every hole and every speed bump and everything breaking your back. The lift also caused some problems. Our steering linkages are now way too short and way out of whack, so we need to get new ones. Problem that was caused that our steering linkages are too short now, and the steering wheel is way out of alignment, but we wanted to replace the steering bars anyway, so we'll save up some money and do that. And one problem that we did not anticipate were the brake lines. We thought we can use the original brake lines, but when you articulate the suspension, they are just a bit too short for a 60 millimeter lift, and they're getting quite tight. So we ordered some new ones, a little bit longer, and we're going to replace them at some point in time when we find some free time. While the back of the car was disassembled, we also replaced the fuel tank protection because it was quite easy at the time. And the mistake we made was we filled it up full just before the work, and when you take off the bolts that hold the original protection, they also hold the fuel tank. So now we have a 50 kilo tank trying to fall on the ground while it was connected to everything. So that was fun. But we learned, before you remove the fuel tank protection, you can put a strap beneath the tank and tie it up to the chassis, and that will hold it in place more or less while you try to put the new one. Also, in the back, these thick shocks cause some problems because the handbrake cable was rubbing against the shocks, but that is easily fixable because you can remove two of the brackets that hold the brake near the axle, and then you have just enough clearance for everything. We are still not sure if we are going to put those brackets back or not, but I don't think we will because it's working fine just like this.
Oh, it's hot. What have we done here?
A lot of small things. Like, one day I heard some rattling inside the engine, so I took the head cover off and found a screw inside that fell out sometime in the last 20 years. Got chewed up by the engine and was left inside. And I wanted to reuse the old seal because we still need to readjust the valves, the valve lift. but the old seal was actually siliconed on, so I had to clean all of that off. Lost about 2 hours on that. Put the new seal on, just to put the cover on so we can drive the car. And now we need to take it off again to redo the valves and replace all the bolts and put some Loctite on those bolts. I think we have a picture or something and we can put that in the video. We will try to make a video about readjusting the valves when we get to that part.
Tell us about the screw you found inside.
It's a screw that holds the rocker arms. The rocker arms rock around the shaft that the screw holds in, and it rattled out sometime in the past. Somehow got inside of under the lifters or something. Was chewed up, and it was just sitting inside of one of the cavities for the oil. And when I was looking at the engine, I saw that something is wrong. Like, you have 10 screws and one is missing, and I thought, oh fuck, if it's fallen all the way down that will be a problem. But then I thought, what if I start pushing my fingers in all the cavities in the engine, and I found it.
Oh.
That was nice. It's not nice that it fell out, but it's nice that we found it. I found exactly which type of screw it is. I bought some new ones and I bought Loctite, so we are going to replace all of them with some Loctite when we open the engine up again. And of course, one day our battery just died. I mean, it was old and crappy and couldn't hold charge, but it died, so we got a new battery. For the new battery we got the new terminals, because the old terminals were quite screwed up because somebody did not took time to install everything correctly. I re-crimped and resoldered all the connectors, put them on the new terminals, and then wanted to use the new battery holder, which was way too small for this way too big battery that we put inside. This is the biggest one that will fit, so I just took a piece from an electronics chassis and made this temporary holder before we think about something smarter.
But it works just fine.
It works just fine for now. The only thing is, this screw is like 1 millimeter too short to hang it down here, so we need to put some extensions here.
Oh.
But we'll get back to that when we reinstall the battery holder. While the battery was out, I also treated all the rust, painted everything and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why you can see some gray areas around.
Yeah, the more the car is gray, the more the car is restored. One day the whole car will be gray, and that will be the end. I also did that on the other side for the windshield washer fluid. There was some rust here and behind this screw here. That was also treated and painted. Oh yeah, we changed the belt because it started squealing.
Oh yeah.
That was simple enough.
What are our future plans for this car? Well, we still need to fix everything. First, we're going to finish our certification for ham radio and install our ham radio inside the car.
If we get one.
We hope we will get our licenses
Soon enough.
Yeah.
We need to fix all 3 prop shafts. We need to fix our transfer case. We need to rebuild our transfer case. We need to rebuild our gearbox. We need to rebuild our front knuckles. We need to rebuild our front hub lockers. Rear diff is in a really bad shape. It's clicking like crazy when the wheels are off the ground. I don't know why, I don't know what's happening inside, but we need a new rear diff. I don't think a rebuild will help there. After we finish all the mechanical stuff, we can try to find a bit better engine for it. Maybe. We'll see. We'll test this one in the meantime. And after that we can focus ourselves on the interior.
That will be exciting.
Yeah, new seats. We would like to install a off-road front and rear bumper. Something a little bit taller and a little bit built from thicker materials, so if we bump into something we don't bend it. Maybe a winch one day. I would really like to install the secondary battery, just because this one is way small, and if we have a ham radio or a winch, it would be nice to have more capacity.
Yep.
So we'll try to install a secondary battery on the left side of the car, on the back of the windshield washer bottle. That will be fun because we need to make the seat for the battery and everything. It would be really nice to have a roll cage, because then we could, on an external roll cage, because then we can have a usable roof and we can put a rooftop tent on it.
So we can camp.
So we can camp anywhere. We need a new soft top because this one has a few holes in it because somebody punctured it. And after all that, we can put some new wheels with some new off-road tires on it.
Yes.
So because it's a shame to put new tires on the car that's sometimes sitting for 2 weeks because we're waiting for parts or something broke or something like that.
True. We're going to keep you updated with all the things we're going to do. We will try to make more detailed videos. This one now was exception because we were not able to film in a borrowed garage. In the future we would like to also film some other projects that we do that is not that are not all about our car. Currently we don't have much time to film everything, but we hope we will have. We hope this was useful to you. If you have any questions regarding the work we did, please feel free to ask us. And thank you for watching.